You are not separate from the version of yourself that possesses everything you desire. You're deeply connected to it. The quantum field awaits your signal, which is not merely what you wish for, but who you choose to become. There exists a version of you already living the life you envision. This version is not hypothetical, it vibrates at a certain frequency. Through the enigmatic principles of quantum entanglement, you are presently linked to that reality, not in the future, not after healing or mastering manifestation, but right now. The real question isn't whether your dream life is genuine. It's why you have yet to align with it. If you feel stuck or find your goals distant, it's not because they lie far ahead, but because your current identity remains entangled with a self that doubts, procrastinates, and self-sabotages. Once you transform your self-belief, not merely intellectually, but at the level of your state of being, everything starts to reorganize. Here's the truth. Most people never understand this process. They live trying to enforce change externally through relentless effort, struggle, and pushing. Even when turning to spirituality, they often fall into the same trap, attempting to visualize their new life without dismantling the old identity that binds them. This is why this message is more than a typical explanation of the law of attraction. It's a dismantling of reality itself and a roadmap to collapsing timelines. This is where two profound ideas converge: quantum entanglement and quantum jumping. Entanglement clarifies why your energy influences matter, your state affects outcomes, and why your subconscious programming is interconnected rather than isolated. Continuously, you broadcast a signal into the quantum field not through words, but through your vibrational frequency, which reflects how your identity engages with possibility. Quantum jumping is often misunderstood. It is neither magic nor escapism. Instead, it is an identity reset that enables you to shift between entangled realities, each housing different selves that await your observation, activation, and experience. And here's the remarkable part. You have already experienced this. The instant when a decision shifted everything immediately, that was a quantum jump, a sudden change in perception, seeing yourself anew, even briefly. That was a ripple in the timeline, the intuitive nudge that you are destined for something greater. This is not mere fantasy. What you're experiencing is your future self breaking through the barriers of time. Within the quantum realm, time does not flow in a straight line. Rather, it exists in layers. This means that your future self can influence your present just as effortlessly as you can aspire toward the future. You're caught in a feedback loop with the version of yourself who has already succeeded. That connection is active at this very moment. This is the underlying principle, the hidden truth. The quantum field does not demand your effort, but your alignment. It requires your mental clarity, coherence, and for your frequency to resonate not through spoken words, but through your very being with what you desire. In this video, we will completely deconstruct your existing beliefs about manifestation and carefully explore the most potent tool you have yet to fully grasp. We will reveal how quantum entanglement not only enables timeline shifting, but makes it an inevitable outcome when properly harnessed. Importantly, this will not focus on visualization, wishing, hoping, or trying. Instead, we're talking about collapsing identities and aligning frequencies. Reality itself is fundamentally code. In the upcoming segment, I will clearly explain the mechanics of entanglement not only at the subatomic level, but within your own experience. We will cover the scientific basis. But more crucially, I will demonstrate how this phenomenon accounts for everything that has ever seemed incongruous in your reality. The version of yourself possessing all that you desire is already linked to you. Let us uncover why you have not yet shifted into that reality. Quantum entanglement is far more than a theoretical concept. It is one of the most extensively documented yet least comprehended phenomena in contemporary physics. Simply put, it describes the condition where two particles once connected remain interconnected such that a change to one instantaneously influences the other, regardless of the distance between them. Einstein famously dubbed this spooky action at a distance. What is rarely discussed, however, is the implication this holds for your consciousness, your identity, and your reality. If matter can behave in this intertwined manner, why could you not? You are not a solitary particle adrift in emptiness. You are a dynamic, conscious field. Like those particles, you are entangled not only with others, but also with alternate versions of yourself scattered across different timelines. These selves chose different paths, trusted different impulses, healed instead of fleeing, took leaps instead of hesitating, and made choices rather than succumbing to doubt. You're not cut off from these versions. You're either harmonizing with their vibrations or falling out of sync. Your alignment with them determines the version of yourself that the field manifests as your present life. But here lies the paradox. A majority of individuals remain tied to the version of themselves that is still enduring, still clinging, still fearful not out of choice, but because they've been conditioned that way. This conditioning occurs through repetition, trauma, and deeply ingrained cycles of identity that go unquestioned. Whatever you remain attached to, you strengthen, you emit it outward, and it shapes your reality. So when someone says, I've tried to manifest, but nothing happens, the problem isn't in their effort. Rather, their unconscious signal is still coming from the part of them that doubts, that remains inactive, that doesn't behave as if the new reality belongs to them already. This is where the quantum field becomes uncompromising. It does not respond to desires, pleading, or visualization alone. Instead, it responds to frequency. And your frequency isn't dictated by a few minutes of focused thought each day. It is determined by what you continuously embody in each moment. You are the observer, and the observer collapses the timeline. However, the crucial question is, which version of you is doing the observing? This question is often neglected, and it's why most people fail to jump. Because jumping isn't an action you simply perform, it's a state of being. You cannot quantum jump into your ideal life if you still operate from the version of yourself that feels unworthy. You cannot shift timelines by picturing success while making choices rooted in fear. The field disregards mere words. It cares about what you're tied to, what you reinforce through your behaviors, focus, and energy. Occasionally, the version of you that possesses what you desire tugs on the connection. You sense this in flashes, dreams, or moments when reality feels fragile. These glimpses of a different life emerge not because you are imagining them, but because you're merging with it and it with you. The link already exists. Now, the question is, how long will you continue to ignore it? In the next section, I will guide you on how to begin reweaving your energetic field, not just through belief or mindset changes, but through deliberate, intentional identity collapse. This process is how we jump, how we move forward, how we break free from cycles to truly shift. But before we proceed, take a moment. If this message resonates with you, it means you are recalling something, not learning something new. This is what happens when entanglement activates. You don't encounter novelty, but rather, you recognize what has always been there. If something stirred within you as you watch this, do me a favor. Hit subscribe. Not for my sake, but for yours, for the part of you that's ready to activate, and leave a message in the comments. Which timeline are you exhausted from living in? Not the ideal one, but the one you're prepared to let collapse. Identify it. Observe it. This is your initial step toward release. Now, are you ready to discover the method? You've been entangled with a version of yourself that doubts, postpones, and settles. Yet, the version of you who has already taken the leap isn't somewhere out there, it's already watching from within. The reason you haven't become this version is because the identity you're currently dissolving pulls you back into the same repetitive story. It's time to rewrite the observer. Every moment, you decide which version of yourself sees through your eyes. Most people are unaware of this, mistakenly believing they are their thoughts, habits, or personality traits. But all of that is merely software. The crucial point many overlook is that you choose the operating system, and you can reboot your system at any moment. This insight is the linchpin of quantum jumping, not about becoming something new, but choosing to cease observing from the self trapped in limitations. The jump doesn't come from action, it arises from collapse. How do we achieve this? First, understand what you will not do. No visualization, no chanting, no closing your eyes to imagine another place not yet. These are tactics the old self uses to flee. Jumping, however, isn't fleeing, it's reclaiming. We begin with one thing alone: awareness. Right now, ask yourself without hesitation, who is the version of me making these choices in this life? What beliefs, fears, and core assumptions about reality do they hold? How do they talk to themselves when no one else is around? Really immerse yourself in this inquiry. You'll start to detect patterns, a certain energy, a heaviness in your chest, or tension in your throat. This is no coincidence. It's the mark of the current observer through which you've been shaping reality for years. Now, here's a vital question, perhaps the most significant you'll ever face. Am I willing to let that version of myself die? Because a jump is essentially a funeral. It's the silent, deliberate, sacred death of the self that cannot hold your future. And most aren't prepared to release it. Not because it's beneficial, but because it's known. Familiar pain, familiar hardship, familiar sense of self. Even suffering can become a comfort zone once you've surrounded it with enough justifications to remain. Yet now, at this very instant, a choice lies before you. Here's the approach. It bears no elaborate title, nor is it a gimmick. It is a deliberate realignment consisting of 3 steps. Step 1. Observe. Be fully present with the version of yourself that's on the verge of breaking. Allow that part to express itself. Let it be truly seen, not judged, simply witnessed. Most patterns don't disappear due to resistance. They dissolve naturally as you evolve beyond them with grace. Step 2. Release. This is when you unbind the connection. Speak, aloud or silently, a straightforward truth. This is no longer who I am. I let go of this old self. I collapse this observer. Expect some pushback. It's normal. The former self struggles to survive, but it only holds sway if you accept its voice as your own. Step 3. Select. After clearing the energetic field, consciously choose the new identity. Don't just entertain the thought, embody it. Stand as that self would. Breathe as that self does. Make decisions from their frequency. Don't ask, what will my ideal version do? Instead, ask, what wouldn't that version tolerate anymore? And refuse to tolerate it starting now. These practices aren't a one-off ritual. They represent a way of living. Every day, every breath reinforces the new alignment. Over time, not necessarily years, but through cycles of energy, the energetic field reshapes itself because it must. This is the principle of quantum mechanics. The observer solidifies possibilities into reality. Reality aligns with the identity of the observer, but only when that identity remains consistent. Here lies a profound truth. The version of yourself already embodying the life you desire isn't some distant future projection or an unfamiliar figure. It exists as a memory encrypted into your energetic blueprint, a still active path waiting for you to take it. Later, we'll explore what happens after you leap, because the jump marks not the conclusion, but the start of recalibration. Without integration, Even the most powerful leap collapses under the burden of old programming fighting to reclaim dominance. For now, sit quietly with this question: which parts of myself am I allowing to make choices even though I've outgrown them? And do they still have the right to define who I am? Breathe not just for your lungs, but for your timeline. If you've listened this far, you've already embarked on a journey that many never dare to start. You have doubted the validity of your past experiences and questioned the self that has been shaping your reality. This very act initiates transformation. Although you may not sense a sudden shift, movement has already occurred. Something inside has loosened, a crack formed, a signal sent marking the beginning of a quantum leap. These leaps don't announce themselves with grand displays, but rather through changes in frequency. You have succeeded. The former version of yourself has been dismantled, the repetitive cycle broken. For a brief moment, you inhabited a new identity, and in doing so, the entire field changed. A fresh perspective now guides your existence. The most surprising aspect is this: your former timeline may exert a pull not as punishment or failure, but as a vibrational echo. You might feel overwhelmed, emotional, or uncertain not because you're mistaken, but because you have left behind a familiar frequency and your nervous system is still adapting. This is entirely natural. Imagine a radio finally switching stations after years of static. For a time, mixed signals and ghost frequencies will overlap. Within that noise, the old identity might whisper, "Nothing has changed. You remain the same." This is a test not of strength, but of clarity. Reality does not shift smoothly, it does so quantumly, meaning that once you enter a new state, everything incompatible begins to fall away. What departs often resists before disappearing. Discomfort will tempt you to perceive failure, but it merely signals the breakdown of old patterns. This is the moment when many abandon their leap, retreating to the previous observer, not because it was preferable, but because it was familiar. So, how does one remain within the new timeline? The answer is not by force. You don't pretend to be something you're not. You root yourself in it. Anchoring isn't about endlessly repeating affirmations or acting as if everything is perfect when it isn't. Rather, it involves responding to life from the standpoint of your new identity, even if your surroundings haven't yet reflected that change. This is the genuine challenge of coherence. When your bank balance still seems limited, yet you respond from a place of abundance. When your relationship feels stagnant, but you communicate from a sense of completeness. When fear arises, and you face it as your highest self instead of your old, habitual self. Each time you consciously choose this fresh perspective in thought, emotion, and behavior, you create stability in your energetic field. Here's the important thing about the quantum realm: it doesn't reward effort, it responds to consistency. The universe isn't testing you, it's attuned to your frequency. Every subtle vibration you emit reveals to the universe who you believe yourself to be. So, rather than questioning why your new reality hasn't materialized yet, ask yourself which version of you have been strengthening today. That's the point where transformation becomes tangible, not during moments of inspiration, but during times of uncertainty. It's about repeatedly choosing to embody the self you have decided to become. Yes, you'll sometimes falter, forget, or fall back in old habits. But each time you remember and choose to breathe into that new identity, you recalibrate your field. Over time, the old energetic patterns lose their grip and fade. What once felt like forced effort evolves into something natural, effortless, and obvious. You aren't faking it till you make it. You are embodying it until it stabilizes. There's a crucial distinction. Eventually, without conscious awareness, you'll notice your external world has transformed. Not because you impose change, but because your frequency has become unwavering. You cease reacting from scarcity, stop bargaining with limitations, and silence the inner voice that never believed in you. When that voice no longer holds sway, reality must revise its narrative accordingly. Before we proceed, consider this. What is one decision you can make today that only the you in your new timeline would make? It doesn't have to be a giant leap, just a single choice, a small shift, or one moment of true alignment and coherence. That's all it takes to start reinforcing the new energetic field. In the upcoming minutes, we'll complete this cycle by exploring how to sustain living in a state of quantum awareness, where transformation isn't just an action, but becomes your very essence. We will embed all that you have learned into a perspective, a way of living and sharing that elevates not only your life, but your entire timeline. This is the beginning, not the leap that has already passed, nor the test drowned in noise. This moment is where everything within you slows down, recenters, and finds peace. Here, the new version of yourself emerges as the only version that truly resonates. Repeatedly choosing coherence over chaos brings about a subtle transformation. Your new identity no longer feels like a mask or a performance. Unconsciously, you become the person you once imagined, not by forcing change, but by ceasing to nurture the part of you that couldn't sustain it. This is genuine integration. Decisions grow quieter, yet carry deeper meaning. Your reactions arise from honesty rather than defense. Old thoughts no longer provoke debate because they no longer belong to you. They are remnants from a past chapter, unable to survive in your present reality. This is the practical application of the quantum shift, not theory or poetry, but your lived experience. You will observe that previous patterns stop triggering you. Emotions flow and fade without becoming your identity. Your speech and movements transform, not through effort to seem new, but as a result of shedding pretense and embracing authenticity. And this completes the cycle. The observer who once distorted your reality has been replaced, not through magic, but through deliberate choice, repetition, mindful breathing, and awareness. Consequently, the world around you, people, chances, synchronicities, organizes itself into fresh patterns. This is not reality rewarding you. Rather, it is reality responding to the authentic truth of who you have become. What follows? You live it fully. You walk, awaken, and feel. Whenever life presents contrast, as it inevitably will, you ask yourself a simple question. Which version of me is being called forth in this moment? This question is the key, the gateway. You are not destined to live by control, but through your signal, made clearer with each aligned decision. Every steady breath and every moment of awareness. In truth, you haven't shifted into a new timeline. You have collapsed the illusion of separation between yourself and the version of you that has always been present. That life was never beyond your reach. The self you thought was out of reach was never truly distant. The connection has always been present. You simply cease to overlook it. Now, the sole step remaining is to live as though this is your new normal. Once it feels normal, it becomes reality. Your personal timeline doesn't advance through sheer effort, but through full embodiment. Take a moment to breathe and notice what has changed within your body. Not what you wish for, but what you already sense. That is your signal, your anchor, your evidence. Before you leave, consider this. If this message reached you at the perfect moment and awakened something ancient inside you, let it be your sign to stop allowing algorithms to dictate when you recall this truth. Subscribe to this channel, not because it's suggested, but because a part of you desires to remain connected to this energy, this resonance, this rhythm, and this frequency you now embody. Share in the comments not only what has shifted for you, but also what new reality you are ready to live. Express it in a sentence, not as a desire, but as an acknowledgement. Let your words serve as the signal saying, I am already here. By naming the life you are embracing now, you activate it in others, and the collective field mirrors this energy. This is the way we transform in unison.